and welcome to a very special Live at 5. I have a guest with me who's been on the screen many, many times. We love having her as a guest, and she has got an incredible workshop coming up on the 27th of August. So today we're going to talk about MetaConsciousness, which I found absolutely fascinating when we went to a wellbeing festival not so long ago, and the guest I have today told me all about it. So let's bring her in to the studio. A massive warm welcome to Robyn Harris from Echo Energy. Hello, Robyn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, you have so many things under your belt. You're a soul practitioner, you're a volunteer for FAST, you're also a speaker, and now which I know you've been for some time, but you've now just added a little bit more to the MetaConsciousness program. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So first of all, tell us, because it's quite a mouthful, I'm not going to lie, tell us a little bit, what is MetaConsciousness all about in a little bit of a nutshell?
It's kind of, if you break the word down, it's what it says on the tin. So meta being the overarching kind of view, and consciousness being who we are, how we relate to the world, both around us, externally and internally. And meta-consciousness looks at how our body interacts with those environments, the external environment, the internal environment, and then how that plays out in our well-being. So if we are experiencing dis-ease, whether that's a physical, social, spiritual, emotional, cognitive dis-ease, using meta-consciousness, we can find out why. And the symptoms hold the wisdom that will both give us the clues as to why we're feeling disease, but will also give us the wisdom as to how we can support ourselves back to well-being. And in doing that, we get the tools to use forever to add to our toolkit that we've got there to access at any time. Because you know what it's like, you learn something through experience, and particularly if it's the experience of dis-ease that you've then had to explore and delve deep, you get strength from that, you get wisdom from that. And that's basically what meta-consciousness helps you to do, by giving you that overarching view and that understanding of, why is my body doing this? Because it's not making a mistake, it's not going wrong, it's not attacking itself. The body's just trying to keep itself safe. But sometimes, unfortunately, in a moment of trauma, our belief on how we need to keep ourselves safe, when we create that belief in a split second, that belief is created out of that moment of fear. So it'll serve us in the short term because it'll get us through, but over time, it doesn't serve us. It's only meant for that split second, just get me through this situation. But if we haven't addressed that trauma, it's still being held in the body. But the body is a very wise and biological system, and it holds the trauma for us to later explore and learn from and grow. It's not doing that in any bad way. We just haven't learnt yet. We're not taught how to use that, how to thank the body and to work with the body and the message that it's holding. So that's what meta-consciousness basically helps us to do. And it takes away the fear of dis-ease, the unknown, the fear of the unknown around, why am I sick? Will I get better? When will I get better? What's it going to be like towards getting better? How long am I going to feel this way? It helps us to explore all of that, so that we're no longer feeling my body's gone wrong, it's attacking me, what can I do? So it gives us those tools and that knowledge and that wisdom.
And it's that's so well explained. And it gives us, like you said, that toolkit at the end of it. And that's what the workshop is all about. And we talk a little bit more about that. But I'm going to take myself as an example. So at the Wellbeing Festival, where you were obviously having a stand, and I came to you, and we were recently back from quite a long trek. And I had really bad pain and hobbling along. And you actually noticed it, because I didn't know at the time that I was hobbling with my knee. And I came to you and told you about my knee, and I said it was really painful. And, it could have been overexhaustion, it could have been lots of different things. But one of the things that you kind of explained was, and I want you kind of to take me as an example so people can get a little bit of an insight of what it actually means with what you can do and what it could cause. And it might not be that that's the case, but it could very well be. So mine was the right knee that I had basically when I came down from Everest Base Camp, it was like a football. And as I came to see you, which was quite a few weeks later, it was a niggling pain. And I often get pain in that knee. And you then explained to me that it could be very sort of various symptoms of perhaps trauma in the past. So take us through in a little bit of a nutshell what that journey could be, what it could be that caused that disease.
It's interesting even just to go back to the fact that you had that swelling and pain and inflammation in your right knee. But as I said to you at the time, well, both of your knees went to Everest and both of them came back. So when we're told, oh, it's a strain, just the fact that you've walked to Everest and back, which is obviously quite a demand on your body. But why that knee? Why your right knee and not your left? Why your knee and not your ankle or your hip or your back? And that's what MetaConsciousness helps us to look at. And why a joint rather than a muscle or a tendon? Or this is what MetaConsciousness does. So it helps us to look at the why questions. Why me? Why now? Why this area of my body? Why this particular symptom? So all of those, and also it can help us to see why one person will go through a situation or one part of your body will go through a situation, same as the other person. One gets sick and the other doesn't. Your right knee had pain, your left one didn't. And you went up to Everest Base Camp with a group of people. They didn't all come back with bad knees. So, and you will see this as well with other things like smoking. One person might smoke fewer cigarettes for a shorter period of time, but they get some kind of a lung disease, whereas somebody else smokes until they're 95 and doesn't appear to have anything. Why does that happen? And this is what MetaConsciousness helps us to understand. And also, from knowing the well-being process, there are two phases to the well-being process. There's the stress phase and the regeneration phase. And we tend to think that when we get sick, that's stress. It's actually often not the case. When we're in stress, we're in fight or flight. When we're in fight or flight, we can't afford to feel sick. You can't afford to have a bad knee if you need to run away in order to survive. So when we are in fight or flight, we've got adrenaline and cortisol and these sorts of hormones, and that heightened readiness mean that we feel less pain. But when we can rest and when we feel safe, that's when the body starts to go into regeneration and repair. That's when we get inflammation and that's when we feel pain. Because then when we're feeling safe, we're not feeling threatened, we're not feeling the need to run away. So it's the knowledge that pain and inflammation come in that recovery, that regeneration, that repair stage. It's the body undoing the things that it did during the stress phase to keep itself safe. And I'll go into more about that in the workshop because that would take too much time here.
It would take a whole evening. I find it absolutely fascinating.
But then we don't need to be afraid when we feel pain. Actually, my body's repairing itself. It's not attacking itself. It's not going wrong. It's not making a mistake. It's trying to repair. But unfortunately, because in our society, we don't like pain. We've learnt to be afraid of pain. And we have a belief that we need to get rid of it. So we take painkillers. And there is a place for painkillers. And if the pain is too bad, absolutely. If you can't walk, then taking painkillers allows you to be more mobile, then there's definitely a place for them. But we're too quick to reach for them. Sometimes it's good just to allow yourself to feel the pain and explore the pain and see what it has to teach you. And also when we're mindful around pain, we don't need as much painkiller anyway. This has been proven. And painkillers, what they do is they mimic stress. So there's quite often caffeine and other stimulants within painkillers. So they push us back into the stress phase because, as I said, in stress phase, we don't really feel pain. So they push us back there. But every time we go back there, we're not in repair. And we're kind of going back to the start of the journey and then having to come back to where we can rest and repair. And then we start to feel pain. So we take another painkiller and we push ourselves back. So this is where things can become chronic. But also painkillers, actually, they've been proven that they, over time, if you're taking them constantly, they can contribute to pain and to pain syndromes where you just are in, your brain is saying that you're in pain because it's become chronic.
So I'm stubborn. I'm not going to lie. So I didn't take painkillers. I was hobbling around and I didn't walk uphill or downhill because that was too painful. But I did kind of walk testy on flat because I have testy as per doodle, as everybody knows. So I had to go out and take the dog for a walk, but I avoided sort of really high hikes and coming down from hills as well, because that was absolutely excruciating. And so you were talking about the repair stage. So I now feel a lot better. So that repair and kind of, going into, I feel safe because obviously I was home. I could feel safe, and my body kind of realized, you know what, it's okay now to feel this pain. Now that's gone. So how does that happen then? Is it because the trauma of that has disappeared, or how would you kind of explain that in a little bit of a nutshell? Because I know there's a lot more to it, and that's what the workshop is all about. But just make me kind of understand a little bit why that would be after the repair. But it's still kind of there, but it's not as obvious, and I can walk on it much better.
So, as I was saying, that in the stress phase, we're in fight or flight, and the body is trying to make itself feel safe. So, it'll be making changes in order to feel safe. Then something will shift that allows us to feel safe. And at that point, the body starts to do what it can to repair. And it might, if we allow it, if we rest. So, what you did, just listening to your body, and this is where pain has a purpose. It keeps us from doing too much. If we allow it and listen to it, and uphills is not good for me because that is too painful. Downhills is often worse actually when you have a bad knee, which some people don't realize until they have a bad knee.
And you have to walk 3 days downhill.
Oh yeah, so that certainly didn't help, and it was quite a hill as well. It wasn't just a natural or a gentle incline. So you listening to your body, listening to the pain, and going accepting a certain amount, but not pushing beyond that. So working with your body, listening to your body, that allowed your body to go through the repair it needed to. However, there will have been an underlying reason why it was your right knee that experienced that issue. And you might have resolved that issue, but you will know over time if you have pain again and swelling in your knee again, you'll know that the issue probably is still there. You've shifted, it's like layers of an onion. You've shifted one layer, but if it keeps recurring, you haven't yet peeled the whole of the onion. And that's where working with somebody like me comes in, because I get you right to the core of the onion.
I love that analogy, Robyn, because that we can all understand. It's really easy the way you've explained it now, because you were talking about certain symptoms that could be related to the right knee, and some of them really touched me personally. And what I want to sort of the underlying, so you're talking about sort of listening to your body. So this can be for if you if you're feeling stress, if you're feeling burnout, if you're feeling emotional and sort of it can show in so many different ways, can't it?
Yes, and one of the things as well when we go into repair, so quite often the symptoms we have in repair, and most of our symptoms are in that phase, we have come to find quite worrisome. We have a fear around them, so we have a fear around pain. Another one is exhaustion, tiredness, because when we've been holding all that stress, that's exhausting. And when we're feeling safe, now we can rest. the body wants to sleep. And sometimes it wants to eat really nourishing food. In stress phase, it wants to eat sugar foods, quick fix, quick energy, sugar foods, caffeine. So you think of that afternoon slump. You reach for the chocolate biscuits and the cup of coffee. That is because the body has had that energy dip, which is what happens in regeneration, what happens in repair, because the body says, please, I need to sleep. When I sleep, I repair, or I need to rest. When I rest, I repair. So we sometimes think, oh dear, I'm tired. I can't afford to feel tired. I'll take the energy pills, or I will drink a cup of coffee. But again, that's pushing us back into stress. So in our Western society, quite often busy brings kudos. It's good to be busy in our society's belief. And also there's a lot of work and jobs that are very stressful and demanding. But that doesn't allow us to go through the repair. So then we start to cycle, and again, conditions become chronic. So if you're holding a lot of stress, it can quite often come out in your back or in your neck and your shoulders, leading to headaches and migraines. And if we're just taking pills and pushing ourselves, then that's going to become chronic. So MetaConsciousness can get right to the root cause of the problem, can identify the thing that put the stress on you in the first place, that activated that stress, so that you know what to deal with and you have a clearer sense of how to deal with it. And then it's so much easier, rather than thinking, well, it might be this, but it might be that, and it might be the other. I'll just try all of those in a kind of a scattergun, or just not knowing exactly what I'm working with. But MetaConsciousness gets to that by looking at your symptoms, where they are in your body, what part of the two-phase process you're in, and that's what the workshop shares with you. So you start to get that understanding, and then it's not unknown anymore. It's not fearful, and you've got the tools to support yourself. But also, if you're a practitioner, and practitioners obviously already have amazing tools in their toolkit to support people, but when you add MetaConsciousness to it, it just gives it that edge. No matter what your modality, it gives you that edge. Because I do EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, as you mentioned, fast. That's what practitioners in that organization do. But having added MetaConsciousness to that, it helps me so much to really hone in on the issue and to deal with it very directly.
It explains so much, doesn't it? Because I mean, the whole thing can become a vicious circle, and I've been there, and I think many people recognize that. You know, when you sort of, like you said, you take that sugar fix, you're traveling perhaps, and you drink an energy drink, then you drink a cup of coffee because you're exhausted, and then around in a circle you go, which becomes a really, really bad place to be, which can often lead to so many other things. And I think a lot of people, one thing that we will recognize is that we always get ill when we go on holiday, because we relax, and the body is taking time to say, basically, it's okay to now stop, and you get all sorts of things. And my immune system at one point was completely broken down just because of having been in that kind of vicious circle. Which is why it's so important to look after yourself. So and I know the workshop will cover that. So just in a little, it's a 3-day workshop. So what would you say that people, so if you've been listening in and you are experiencing this, or you are a practitioner and you want to learn more, can this workshop be suitable for somebody who's been in a vicious circle for years, a practitioner that probably knows quite a lot but want to learn more about root cause of perhaps problems, or how they can help others? Is that how it would work? Would it be suitable to all different types of people like that?
It's really suitable for anybody who wants to know more about well-being and about how their body works, and in order to work with it. But also, yes, for practitioners who want to have an extra tool that just gives them that edge. It gives them that ability to hone in on the specific root cause and to deal with it very directly. And yes, I've used this with people who have long-term chronic diseases. That was my situation, my journey. That's how I came to have MetaConsciousness done on me, and then trained to be a practitioner, and now trained to teach people the introductory level because I found it such a game changer. And if you think of people who are in that chronic condition, quite often they've been told that the only thing they can do is manage their symptoms. And that's such a kind of a dead end place to be and hopeless place to be, versus if you have tools to support yourself, if you understand what's going on in your body and start to work with it. Because if you have a chronic condition, quite often I know I had got to the point of nearly hating my body because it was letting me down all the time, because I had that belief that it was going wrong, it was failing, it was being against me. But then when I came to see that it wasn't, it was actually doing its best for me and trying to look after me when I knew how to work with it to achieve that. That's why I call this such a game changer. But it works for chronic conditions, it works for acute conditions, it works for anything. So it's just for the people that this resonates with, the people who feel, yes, I want to explore this, I want this wider perspective, this understanding, this self-awareness, and this dis-ease awareness, well-being, dis-ease process awareness, then this workshop is for them.
Fantastic, Robyn. I really hope it goes well. I'm really looking forward to hearing the results, because I know there's some very lovely people going on the course. So obviously you can find it on tinabounce.co.uk/events. Where else can you find you if they want to get in touch, Robyn, and ask questions and so on?
Sure. I'm on my Facebook page, business page, which is Equenergy Wild Wellbeing. I have a Facebook group, which is Wild Wisdom Wellbeing. And I have my website, which is equenergy.com, as you can see on the screen here. So any of those, and I'm happy for people to PM me. There are links there, certainly on my website, for booking in a Zoom call with me. I'm very happy to do that as well. On the website, it's under the second tab, which is Let's Connect. So any of those. And I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram as well.
You can be found anywhere, to be honest with you. And you are absolutely, I could talk to you all night, but we are going to love you and leave you and say a massive thank you to everyone who's watching. And if you're watching on replay and you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat, and either myself or Robyn will make sure that that question gets answered. So for now, Robyn, thank you ever so much for joining me, and we wish you a lovely evening. Take care. All the